Welcome back to the channel. It's New Year's Eve now, 2023, and we've had a really mild winter. We've had a little bit of snow, a couple inches here and there, and that was it. And it's actually been pretty warm every day. It's now, I think it's around 35 degrees out, but you know, during the days when it warms up, it ends up getting up to, 50s, mid 50s. So it's highly unusual for us. But I know it's coming at some point here, so I got all my firewood stocked up inside and got the wood burner going now. Let's see, it's 63 degrees in here, which is fine. And I just know come January or February, we're going to get some snow. We're going to get some really cold weather, I believe. But anyhow, this video here is going to be on a tractor that I've had for a couple of years now, and I've tried various little things here and there to get it running right, and I just can never get it to run right. But I think, and that was when I really didn't know much about diesels, and now I know quite a bit more. I actually recently bought a 1995 Chevy with a 6.5 diesel in it, and so I'm learning quite a bit about diesels. But what I've done to this tractor, it's a Kubota L210, and I have, I've put new glow plugs in it. And by the way, this tractor is not supported by Kubota anymore. All the parts are obsolete. Once they're gone, they're gone. They don't make any more. And the problem with the glow plugs is they're pretty unique. They actually only run on about 5 volts, so they take a special resistor. And that was hard to find too, because that was bad. So I ended up spending quite a bit of money on both glow plugs and the resistor. And then there's also an indicator, which was also bad. So I had to buy that too. Got that all working, and still wouldn't start right. It would start, but only when it was really warm, and it would take a bit of cranking, and it would just smoke like crazy for probably 3 minutes or so. And all of a sudden it'd start popping and cracking and making some noise, and then the smoke would clear up. I thought, that's kind of odd. I thought, maybe the fuel injector has an issue. It's not injecting the fuel correctly. So I took the injectors out, took it to a local diesel shop here, and they tested them and said that they were bad. They were working, but they weren't at the specs that the manufacturer suggested. So I said, all right, go ahead and rebuild them. That was a couple $100 to do that. Yeah, and even those are expensive and you can't find them. So I had them do that. Let's see, what else did I have done to it? Oh, it had an AC Delco GM starter on it, which worked, but it turned over extremely slow. And I thought, well, maybe it's just turning over too slow to start. So I went on eBay, and you can actually find the starters for that engine. It's a 2-cylinder. So I bought one of those starters and put it on, and that made a big difference. But it still would smoke and then spit and sputter after a few minutes, and then finally would start running better. It still lacks a little bit of power though. So what I did is I bought me a diesel compression tester, just a cheap one off of, I think, Amazon or eBay. And when I got it, I did a compression test on it, and it turns out the number 1 cylinder is low. So what I think is going on through my research and everything that I've looked into is these engines had a problem with the piston rings cracking. So I believe that's what's going on with it. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go ahead and start tearing it apart. I believe I can pull that piston out without pulling the head gasket. The problem is, again, you can't find parts for this thing, so the least amount that I can tear apart, the better. So what we're going to do is, because of the way the tractor's built, the front end actually attaches to the front of the motor, and I want to leave that on. So I think what we can do is pull all the radiator and everything off the front, the hydraulic pump, and then there's a big cover over the front of the engine. This is a different type of engine where it doesn't have an oil pan that bolts on like a normal tractor would. So anyhow, let's go over and take a look at it and start getting into it. So here it is. I got it in the shop, and this tractor came from Arkansas. It was part of the rice paddy fields down there, and you can tell by the way it looks. It's a, I believe, an early 70s Kubota. And I do have all the headlights and the side decals and stuff for it. So if we can get this thing running right, I'll probably tear it apart and repaint it and make it look pretty good. But it all depends on getting that engine running right. I really like this tractor. You know, you can tell it needs some body work too. And this is all cracked. I'd have to weld that, grind it, but we can do that and make it look good. But I really like this tractor because you can make this thing turn on a dime. I mean, literally, you can lock up one side of the brakes and this thing will turn right around 360. I like it because it's small. The rear 3-point hitch here will actually lift way more than it should. I mean, this thing was built when tractors were made good. They didn't take a whole lot of safety in consideration. And I'm okay with that because I've driven newer equipment way bigger than this that isn't as capable as this thing is. So I really hope that we can get this thing running. It's a really neat old tractor. I mean, you can see it's had some repairs done to it. Like on this arm here, you can see somebody had welded on a little bit of re-rod or something there. I don't know if it broke or what, but I mean, it's had its day, but you know, when I got this, it said it had 81 hours on it. And let's see, we are at almost 90. I don't believe it because of the way it's running now. I think it's wore out. I think it's actually 10,090 hours. But like I say, let's get into this thing, and I really hope we can save this tractor. It is neat. All right, first things first, we need to get this hood off. So, pull this air filter up out of there, set it aside. And then it unbolts, it looks like, so we'll go ahead and start taking these bolts out here. I'm glad there's not nuts on the back side. That makes it a lot easier. The other thing I like is this weight on the front. All right, it should pop right off of there. Maybe. Hell yeah, there we go. Now that we got that off of there, we can kind of see what we're working with. Obviously, the radiator is going to have to come out. We're going to pull the fan off, pull the belt, probably all these brackets and pulleys and stuff. There's your hydraulic pump that's going to come off. And then this is the plate I was talking about right here. That pretty much, see if I can get you in there to look. You can see it there. Pretty much covers the whole front of the engine. And you can see how the engine is just cast out around the bottom. So, so there is no real oil pan there, like a normal engine would have. And then your front end here attaches to the motor. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and we'll drain the antifreeze and we'll drain the engine oil out. All right, so there is a drain on this radiator right here. The valve's on the back side, but when you turn it, nothing comes out. So that's bad, and if we can get this thing running right, I'll replace that. So what we're gonna have to do is loosen this clamp and let everything drain out of here.
Come out.
Trying to do this without making a mess all over the floor, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I got an idea. There we go. I kept this pan for a reason. Well, I caught most of it. A little bit around the edge there, but that's not bad. I've made worse messes. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take this antifreeze and put it, and I got a clean bucket here, and I've clipped a rag on top. I'm gonna strain it through that rag, and I also have a lid here so we can save that and keep it clean. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go, caught a bunch of stuff there. I'm gonna let this sit right here and drain off. And then we'll go ahead and we'll take what's left in here and do the same thing. We'll dump it into that bucket. That's how much crap we got out of it. So that worked out pretty good. Looks pretty clean to me. All right, I'll go ahead and get this radiator removed and a bunch of other stuff, and we'll be right back. All right, I got the radiator off, and the mounts, the rubber for the mounts were not very good. They're all pretty shot, so I'm gonna have to see if I can find some new rubber washers there. But I'm gonna go ahead and drain this oil, and I'm not gonna save the oil, and the main reason is because I tried to use some of this engine restore stuff in it to see if that would help, and it obviously didn't do much at all. So we're just going to drain the oil and throw it out. Put some new 1540 in it after we're all done. Oh, all right. I don't know how fast this is going to come pouring out of here. There we go. Oh, not bad at all. Look at how black that is. All right, so I got the fan off. I got the hydraulic pump loose here. And I started breaking these hydraulic lines in it. This hydraulic oil looks terrible. I'm guessing it's got moisture in it or something, but that is terrible. So we're just gonna let that drain and drain that. This tank here is part hydraulic tank and part diesel tank. It's actually split in two. So we're gonna let that all drain out. And I've got some new hydraulic 46 we'll throw in there. I don't know if it's 30, it might have 32, I'm sorry. But yeah, glad I did that. Now, I was told that somewhere in here we've got oil mixing, so we may have to break this tractor in half and change out some seals, but let's worry about the engine first. All right, so this nut here that was on this lower pulley was pretty hard to come off, but there it is. I got it off. The pulley's unfortunately not wanting to come off, so what I think I'm going to have to do, I didn't want to do this, but I'm going to have to block that engine up. And I'm not going to take this joint off. But what I'm thinking is I'll unbolt the front end. I think it's 6 bolts, and we'll just push this front end kind of out of the way. And how I got this nut off here was my impact, and it's a 1 13/16 socket. I had a 3/4 socket and using an adapter and then an extension to get in there. So that worked out pretty well. And one more thing I wanted to point out is I got this cardboard laid out. It's a good idea to mark where all these bolts and nuts come from. So that's what I've been doing as I'm going along. But before we get to moving this out of the way, I want to show you something. If you don't know, AutoZone takes oil 5 gallons at a time. And basically all you got to do, or what I do, is I get these buckets for free from work. They've already got a lid on them. And when they get full, I just go drop them off. So we're going to go ahead and dump that oil into this bucket, and I believe it'll all fit because it didn't feel that heavy. right, I think it all fits. So what I'll do is I'll just leave this like this, prop it up against the bench or something, and let it all drain out of this pan. Once it's all drained out, I will put it back on the shelf. Well, the front end is off and swung around like I said. We're going to try to get this pulley off, but one problem I see is there's not much of a lip right here on this counterbalanced pulley. I mean, there's plenty on these two, but what I may have to do is find something to wrap around this and hold these all together while I'm using it. Let's go ahead and see what happens like this though. Oh, it's coming. I did not expect that. I figured for sure this one would fly off of there. Awesome. Well, that was too easy. And it had a little bit of oil on there or something, so that helped it stay on. I don't know if this must be just part of the, I don't know if that's got to come off or not. I don't think so. I think behind there's that seal. Yeah. So I won't have to take that keyway out. Well, I think that's it. I don't know if I got to take this off or not. That, I believe, is the speedometer cable, or the RPMs rather. I pulled that cable off of there. I'm going to try to go ahead and just unbolt this cover, and let's see if we can get it off of there. All right, I think that's it. So grab a hammer and we'll give it a tap. Well, that was too easy too. Oh yeah, there it is. All right, well, I did not expect to have these gears in here, but that's okay. I just have to take a look at it and see what it's going to entail to remove that, because I'm going to have to pull this whole thing off of here. So I was looking at this and I just realized I may not have had to take this whole thing off. There's a cover right here that should get me into where I need to be. So we're going to pop that cover off and see what it looks like. The rest of these are 13s. Somebody's been into this engine a few times. Oh good, those are 12s. Well, I'm going to kick myself if this is all I had to do, and we went through all of that. I can put the whole front of the tractor back together too. What a waste. I thought for sure I had to pull that front off. Oh well. So I just used my brake bleeder here, and I sucked out what was left of the oil in the bottom here. And boy, that's not good to see, is it? That right there is metal shavings. I mean, real fine, but still, there's a ton of metal shavings in the bottom here. So, yeah, I'm not sure where we go with this. I think I'm going to go ahead and get that head off, though. And let's see if there's a lip or anything on that cylinder. Well, I got the head off, and looking at this cylinder, I'm not really seeing anything that stands out. There is a tiny lip here, but doesn't feel that bad. There's one on cylinder 2 also, but it's not that bad either. So I think what we're going to have to do is pop this cylinder out, or pop this piston out, and we'll see if those rings are okay. All right, I got the piston out, and sure as heck, we got some broken piston rings here. I think there's look at that, broken to 3 pieces. I thought there was 2 of them here that were broke. That one's good. And the other one's good. So we've got, oh, we got a broken piston. Huh. Well, there's our problem. Look at that. Piston is broke. Well, that'll be fun trying to find a piston. It looks like it's broke here and broke there. See what the other side looks like. The other side don't look too bad. But that's our issue right there. It looks like I'm going to have to find a piston and some piston rings. Well, good. At least we know now what the problem was. Why it was low on compression on cylinder 1. If I put a new piston in there, I bet you this thing runs great. All right, well, now that we know what the problem is, I guess I better get looking for some parts. Unfortunately, I don't know where I'm going to find them. But I definitely need a piston, and I need some piston rings. So hopefully I can get lucky on that. Anyway, I'm going to make this part 1. We're going to end the video. And I hope you guys have a nice day. And I'll see you on the next video.